Hello and welcome everyone to another Sidemenreact video. This is the worst ever movie CGI moments. Now, we all know CGI can be freaking amazing as hell, but sometimes it can be very bottom tier where it's like, what was that? But in most times you think, hey, big production movies should, in theory, have good CGI, but they don't. Some of it's real bad. Real bad. But granted, I know nothing about CGI, so I honestly don't know how technically hard it is, in theory, to make something CGI, so I can't really say nothing for sure, but I'm pretty sure it's difficult, and we're just here to, lightly roast. I mean, I'm pretty sure the boys are gonna heavily roast, but obviously, yes, it's me. I will lightly roast. So, but I'm going to shut up and we're going to get into it right now.
Yes, now, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to watch the 10 terrible CGI movie moments, such as the Sidemen movie trailer featuring the Sidemen. That was really good.
That was top quality CGI.
They had seen the bloopers of it, the broccoli fields with you.
Oh, the broccoli fields.
Me, Simon, the broccoli fields.
I don't remember this.
All I remember is
CGI.
Ethan being a gladiator
in
the Colosseum.
Yeah.
And you were like 5 times the size of everyone else on the floor.
Inside the Colosseum.
It's so funny.
You're the same size as the walls, bro.
10 honkers here. Let's have a look.
It's gonna be weird if I've seen the film.
It must be
and
devastating
not
as a filmmaker to pump your heart and soul into a project only for it to be weighed down by a few, or more than a few in some cases, god-awful CGI moments.
Oh my god.
But it must be said that designing computer-generated imagery is no mean feat. It can take months or even years for visual effects teams to craft high-quality CGI sequences for a feature.
Oh, that's bad.
It's pretty
However,
bad,
the
yeah.
likes of Avatar and Avengers Infinity War and Endgame have now shown us what is truly possible when it comes to the world of CGI.
When you
in
deep
film.
it, it's actually
So
not.
I don't want to
that's
hear
why it can
any
be
good
so
talk
painfully
about
obvious
Avatar.
when a particular
Why?
effect doesn't stick the
terrible
landing.
You're a hater.
I'm Gareth from
I didn't like the film
and
either,
here
so
are
it's
10
alright.
terrible CGI movie moments you cannot unsee.
Pocahontas
Number
rip-off.
10, Baywatch, worst fire ever.
Okay.
2017's Baywatch got you into the cinema for one of two reasons. You either
KSI
wanted
song.
to stare at the pretty cast for 2
Yeah.
hours, or you heard that the film was rated R and wanted to see what all the fuss was about. What you definitely
What
didn't
was going on
expect
there?
to see was out-of-this-world CGI
That's the
effects,
KSI
which
song
would have
is
made
playing
Steven
there.
Spielberg proud. And it's a good thing too, because we definitely did not get that in this Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson vehicle. The infamous moment, which stands out as one of the worst uses of CGI in modern movie history, happens during Mitch Buchanan and the gang's daring attempt to rescue some civilians from a burning boat in the middle of the sea. As they get close to the floating blaze, it becomes clear that these flames are 100% fake. Painfully fake. I mean, the fire looks like it was designed on Minecraft. Thankfully, the entire sequence doesn't last much longer.
Hey, that is bad for you,
I
ain't seen that film.
I've actually never seen it.
Number 9, Gods of Egypt, Minotaur
budget on that
Attack.
scene.
I don't think that was the
Initial
worst
trailers
thing I've
dropped
ever
for
seen.
Yeah, it's
2016's
terrible.
Gods of Egypt. It was clear to most that this film wasn't going to be
This one is
boasting
better than the last
out-of-this-world
one.
visual effects. However, the promise of Gerard Butler hamming it up as an Egyptian god would surely be enough to distract us from the outdated CGI on show, right? Wrong. So wrong. One particular instance of CGI came during a scene which involved a bunch of Minotaurs ambushing Brenton Thwaites' Beck, only for Nikolai Coster-Waldau's Horus to pop up and save the day at the last moment. Unfortunately, the nasty Minotaurs on show here looked like they'd been ripped straight out of an old stop-motion King Kong movie. For a feature which had a $140 million budget to play with, it's quite embarrassing that the end result turned out to be near unwatchable at times due to some of the laziest CGI in recent history. Number 8, Hellboy.
Hellboy!
That's a shame
I've actually
moment.
never
When
seen it.
Hellboy finally returned to our screens in 2019, fans wandered into the film with a spring in their step, as the first few glimpses of the reboot looked promising. Sadly, what we got in the end was a half-assed attempt to bring Hellboy's world to life, with the majority
I
of the
enjoyed
CGI
it.
on show being borderline
is.
offensive. The disjointed
Hellboy.
scene where David Harbour's Hellboy fights off some CGI giants definitely sticks out as one of the worst visual offenses in the film. However,
he's-
that
he's
scene
not
looks like
vibrating all
a
over the gap.
visual
a
masterpiece
little bit.
compared to that Ian McShane moment at the end of the movie. McShane's Trevor Broom had just been killed by Mila Jovovich's Blood Queen, screen. So a pissed off Hellboy decides to finally yank out Excalibur and looks set to bring about the apocalypse, as you do. Then, in a last gasp attempt to appeal to his human side, Alice uses her powers to channel Broom's spirit, who then tells the demonic being that he is better
Yeah, that
than
ain't great.
this. Unfortunately, the feature's relatively small $50 million budget meant that the team weren't able to juggle a deeply realistic Anung Unrama and convincing second coming of Broom at the same time. So
one
it's
ain't
got
good.
this weird head on top of an animated umbilical.
I don't know about that.
Young Will Smith. When your entire marketing campaign focuses on the fact that a well-known acting superstar would be fighting a younger version of themselves in your movie, you have to stick the landing on that
It's the bike part
all-important
of this
de-aging
film.
job. Unfortunately,
haven't seen
Gemini
it.
Man
The bike
wasn't able to
chase.
do just that with their
I ain't
clone
seen it.
version of Will Smith in the 2019 action thriller. There
looks
were
like a 2K
moments when the
game face.
effect worked a treat, and audiences were allowed to fully invest in the idea of Smith's character, Henry Brogan,
right, Josh?
genuinely being faced with the prospect of fighting off a quicker, stronger version of himself. However, at too many points in the story, we were left wincing at just how jarring the finished CGI was in this paint-by-numbers action flick. Yet by far the clunkiest piece of CGI in the big-budget flop was the final scene involving Brogan's clone being visited by the
Yeah, that one
original
ain't great.
Brogan at
That one
college.
ain't
Too
great.
many Brogans.
like Hannah.
Here, the clone looks like
Bro, look
he's seem focused on delivering next-level visual
Journey.
effects
MCC, bro.
ends on a de-aging duff note. Number 6, Cats.
Wasn't this film, like,
Pretty much
awful?
all,
Oh, yeah.
all of the talk coming into
haven't
Tom
seen
Hooper's cinematic
I mean,
take
he
on
doesn't
Andrew
need to go
Lloyd
further.
Webber's
It's
Cats
already
centered
terrible.
on the director's use of groundbreaking visual effects to bring his titular felines to life. Yet, when the first trailers
This
hit
is
the internet
terrible.
for this visual
was terrifying.
fans all around the world were left feeling slightly disturbed or even
I don't like it.
concerned
Sat
about
through this
what
whole
had been
thing,
conjured
please.
up by the film's visual effects.
Who
team.
animated this whole
Actors
thing,
such as
bro?
Serena
I don't
McKellen
know,
and Dame
but
Judi
I-
Dench had been
I've
morphed
never
into
watched it, but it freaks
atrocities
me out.
before our very eyes. But we were
Cats
still a
again,
few months
Simon.
away from the film's release date.
I'm
However,
telling
they
you,
could
no
not
good can come
improve the
from Cats.
visuals
I
in
don't
time.
like them little
Instead, they
mouse.
rushed the feature into cinemas and were forced to re-release another version of the film at a later date to cover up some CGI blunders such as Dench's wedding ring being very much visible. Sadly, even the re-release couldn't mask the odd decision to put noses on inconsistently sized, digitally altered cat/human hybrids. And so much of the film just ended up feeling like one big acid trip. Number 5,
yeah, it's
Terminator
very
3,
weird.
Rise of the Machines,
Yeah.
Fake Gravestones. Coming into the third installment of the Terminator franchise, fans were pretty much convinced that the series could do no wrong. The original James Cameron flick boasted some of the best practical effects of its time, and Judgment Day also held its own in terms of its impressive visuals. Rise of the Machines did its best to keep pace with its predecessors in 2003, but there were a few moments where the effects stuck out like a sore mechanical thumb, the worst of which goes down in a cemetery, when Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator is attempting to flee the scene with John Connor in a coffin. After safely shoving said coffin into the backseat of a hearse, the pair pick up Kate Brewster just as she's about to be blown to bits by the evil TX. But not before Arnie blasts the nasty robot with a rocket launcher straight into one of the worst digitally rendered objects in cinema history. An ill-fated managed to get away from the scene. However, fans in the
sake,
cinema
bro.
could not get away from the fact that they just witnessed some absolutely rotten CGI in a near $200 million blockbuster. Number
Fuck's
4,
sake.
Venom,
Oh.
Final Battle. Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock morphing into the hulking symbiote was a visual treat at times in 2018's Venom, and the scene where he completely massacred a SWAT team was a particular highlight of the Spider-Verse spin-off. However, all that good work was very nearly overshadowed by a few cringeworthy CGI moments in the climactic final battle between Venom and Riot and Eddie Brock and Carlton Drake. As the enemies tear chunks out of each other, both symbiotes half split away from their hosts. In this moment, Venom and Riot are seen trying to get the better of one another, while Drake and Brock continue to wrestle for dominance. Yet it was painfully obvious that a cartoonish Hardy and Riz Ahmed had been digitally placed into that scene. If that
Yeah.
terrible
I
CGI
still
beat
think
wasn't
that's
bad
quite
enough,
bad.
when time slows
That's
down
the thing,
as
yeah.
Riot
That's quite
so many
nuts.
different
I'm waiting to
plots
see
to
something.
it,
Venom,
though.
the flick quickly starts to enter B-movie visual territory, which isn't exactly what you want from a film which cost over $100 million to make.
No,
Number
that
3,
one's
Pirates
alright.
I
of
don't
the
think
Caribbean.
that one's so nuts that I think that one they can get away with.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
a bit
yeah.
old.
Sure.
Tales, Shark Attack. There was a time when the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise was home to some of the most convincing visual effects in modern cinema. However, here we are off the back of the most recent outing for Johnny Depp's Captain Jack Sparrow in 2017's Dead Men Tell No Tales, and it looks as though the CGI wheels have completely fallen off this once visually stunning world. Depp's de-aging in the flick wasn't actually half bad, but that's about as good as it got for the fifth Pirates film's visuals. The worst culprit came during a scene where Jack and Brenton Thwaites Henry Turner were being chased by ghost sharks. Yep,
Oh
thing,
my.
man.
I haven't seen this one.
Ironically, like the sort of unpleasing visual effect you'd find in an
Ghost
immersive
sharks.
theme ride. The moment where one of the sharks jumps out of the water and
man.
attempts
This
to
is
munch the two
Sharknado.
main characters felt about as believable as the thought of a decent fifth Pirates film did on paper. Number 2, The Predator.
bad.
It wasn't that
Predadogs.
bad.
Though many felt that the most soul-destroying part of Shane Black's The Predator was the film's decision to make the big evil a badly animated Ultimate Predator, I see your super CGI'd 11-foot-tall monstrosity and raise you a pair of god-awful Predadogs. These two just looked positively terrible, and their appearance only got
That's a KSI dog, bro. KSI dog.
into Predator chum, clearly trying to cover up just how much of a visual mess these alien canines had become. Most
say
of the
forehead
action
is
involving them
KSI.
took place at night. However, even that couldn't stop one of the dogs looking like a creature out of an early installment of the Doom franchise when it was swatted away by an oncoming vehicle. Things went from bad to worse when one of the dogs decided to chase down Boyd Holbrook's Quinn McKenna, only to be turned into a deeply unsatisfying gloopy green disaster in midair thanks to a grenade being pulled down its throat by
What?
McKenna.
Oh, that-
Black
okay,
decided
that
to
was-
spend
that
a
was
little
bad.
bit more time making sure those CGI characters didn't resemble entities from an early 2000s video game. He could have at least produced a Predator film that bloody looked the part. Number 1, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Right.
Never
Ego's
seen that one either,
expansion.
so.
When the first Guardians of the Galaxy film burst
this
onto
one?
the scene
I
in
can't remember
2014, it was universally praised for its mix of perfectly crafted humor and deeply flawed characters who you could fully relate to. Even the talking tree. Yet one aspect of that first film, which was a little overlooked, was just how stunning some of the visual effects were. So that's why it was so weird to see such a blatantly awful piece of CGI wedged into the finale of the 2017 sequel. As Ego's
Where?
seedlings began to terraform and his
when he turned
expansion
into
started to become a
yeah.
reality, MCU fans in cinemas all over the planet couldn't help but wonder why his terrifying plan looked an awful lot like a blue version of flubber-eating cities. Thankfully, the epic battle between Peter Quill and his father, coupled with Yondu's heartbreaking sacrifice, helped cover up this big old blue mess. But for a moment
Okay, that
there,
don't
it
look great.
definitely looked
That
like
didn't
James
look too
Gunn had
good, yeah.
completely crapped the CGI bed in the final moments of Volume 2. And that's our list. Know of any other terrible
you know
CGI
what?
moments that you
I
cannot
think there's
There's
worse
millions
ones.
more movies that
Oh
are-
yeah,
definitely.
there's so many worse ones.
There's
Yeah.
worse ones that could have taken number 1, I think.
I think this is more like to do with the fact of the budget of the film.
Yeah,
compared to-
yeah.
Very possible,
That's
yeah.
what it is.
But although, like, you know, they should have. I know they wanted to, like, do a soft reboot of the Pirates movies, but Dead Men Tell No Tale didn't need to be there, honestly. It really didn't. Because the first 3 is the original, the second one is Hell. I know the third one is at World's End. Dead Man's Chest? Yeah, Dead Man's Chest. And at World's End. Honestly, the first 3 are freaking amazing. And I think the 5th one? Oh yeah, because the one before that is the one with the mermaid. That one. Where Johnny Depp's in it, but I mean, like, because Will and Elizabeth aren't in it. Or they make a cameo or somewhere or something, I don't know. Maybe, I don't remember, but they're not in the 4th one, so it's like, I was like, eh. I mean, it's a good movie, don't get me wrong, but eh. I prefer the first 3 original ones, because it had the characters, the freaking story arcs, it was amazing, it was good, I'm like, yes! First 3, top fave. Yes, I love those pirate movies, they're so good. First one will always be my favorite, though, because it's like, it's the first one, and it's so freaking good, I love it. But is there any other movies that you could think of that have worse CGI? Because, I mean, to me, it's bad, but it's not too, like, to me, if the CGI takes me out of, like, the immersion, yes, I could see that. But some of them, I was like, it didn't really take me out of the immersion, though. Like if like I said, if it like completely takes you completely out of the movie, then you're like, okay, this is bad CGI. But if you're like still like semi-engaged, like, you know what I mean? It's not as bad. But also you're talking like the people who do this are like big movie buffs. You know, they're critiquing every little thing, like how I could have done this better or how you could have done that better. You know, it's just a thing that we as humans will always do. We will always do that no matter what. So you can't please everybody. But at the same time, when you do have that much money though, sometimes it's like, where did the budget go to then? Who allowed this to happen in a very big production movie? You do question where stuff did go to. Did it go to... I mean, because you have to... I think in budgets, I think you have to, like, do how much you're paying the actors and actresses and all that stuff. So... I don't think it's as much as we think, because you have to factor that into it. And if they're getting paid millions of dollars, and then you already have so much millions left over for visual effects, for, you know, the studio that you're using, the people that you're having to pay to edit said movie, and people to pay to do the soundtracks, and, you know, then it kind of gets, then the budget seems kind of itty-bitty, and you're like, what the frick? Granted, I know nothing about this completely, but, like, in my brain, that's just how I've always thought about it. I'm like, yes, they do, but is that budget considering this? Is it considering that? Like, you know, is it considering location? Like, say they have to film somewhere else, or they're having to pay for accommodations, for food, water, the places to stay, stuff like, you know, there's just all kinds of stuff that's factored into it that I don't think everybody's really understanding. They're thinking that all that money that is in the budget is for said just movie, and I don't think it is. Like I said, I could be completely wrong, but me personally, I think it's the budget's incorporating everything that they think that they will need. And obviously you're gonna overestimate because, you know, stuff happens, shit breaks. Because say if you're making a movie and your camera breaks, and these cameras are expensive as hell. Like, holy hell, they're expensive. So if stuff happens or if something breaks and, like, you know, stuff goes wrong, so they're, like, trying to do that, and it's... I'm sorry. It's me, I'm sorry. I do love movies, so I know it's, like the very tip of the iceberg, so I don't know very much, but this is what just goes on in my brain sometimes when people are, like, critiquing movies, and I'm like, okay, but do you actually know what happened? Like, do you know how, like... Because, like, because, like, you know, in the movie industry, time is money. No matter what, no matter how much you try to have fun, you know, and, like, be cool about it and stuff, but time is money, like, legit. Like, every moment that passes and they mess up a scene and they have to, like, redo everything, you know, reset up everything, it takes time. And then if, like, you're falling behind on schedule, then shit hits the fan even more, and just, I'm sorry. I listen to commentaries a lot too, I'm sorry, but you know what I mean. Stuff can just go wrong in an instant, it's insane. But other than that, I hope you guys did enjoy. Make sure to go check out the boys' links down in the description as always, and I'll see all you beautiful, wonderful people in the next video, alright? Bye.
Never gonna look back. I'm never gonna look back. Cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast, and that's facts. Only I can